Rave here. I made a video about just my thoughts on the flat Earth. It's unscripted, nothing scientific. There's plenty of scientific videos out there to debunk the flat Earth, so I didn't think it was necessary. I got a comment. This wasn't particularly funny, and in the end, it kind of got disturbing. I'm going to read it here. If you want to verify, you can check my YouTube channel. I'm not going to remove any comments. That's lame. But here it is. I'm not so sure if you can see it too well. Here goes. Hey, wacky. Flat Earth is kind of a deep subject. If you ever want to chat, let me know. Flat Earth has been a controlled rollout. And there's much disinfo. You should probably put something after that. I don't know. If you don't read scriptures, then you won't understand. Understand what? I've actually read scriptures. Yeah, that's not going to help. Maybe start with the NASA deception. Yeah, it's going to be one of those. Fake moon landing, which couldn't have been faked in the back then. Whatever. Fake ISS. Despite you can actually track it and actually see it through a telescope if you know what you're doing. Yeah, ISS is fake. That makes total sense. Fake satellites, etc. Satellites exist for the purpose of broadcasting signals. You can actually... There are spots where satellites pass on a regular basis. I used to live in a place where... Well, I pretty much knew that the light I was seeing in the sky was a satellite because it had the exact same path every single day. True, I didn't feel like getting a telescope and double checking, but yeah, that satellites are real. If you can even track satellites as well and look through a telescope to find them. Just like the ISS. No real image of the Earth from space, blah blah. I like how they put that. The images that they claim are faked work on the same concept as a panorama picture that you can take with your phone. Now, if you're wondering what I mean by this, there's a lot of phones that have the ability to take a panoramic picture where it doesn't take a single picture. It takes three, sews them together on the areas where they're familiar, and makes one larger picture out of that. That's all that's going on there. Essentially, the fake images of the Earth are a more complex version of a panoramic photo. So I wouldn't call that necessarily fake. Now, yes, there are plenty of fake images out there. for like graphic design purposes or anything like that, or they're used to show more detail, show what they're wanting to see when they're trying to look at it, like a specific subject or specific area of the Earth. For instance, they might tone down the light, or they'll alter their colorings to show places of certain demographics. But they're usually pretty honest about what they're doing. So fake is, you have to define that a little bit more. But we need to move on. But if you're not into conspiracies, maybe start with 9/11 or Sandy Hook. First of all, trying to say Sandy Hook was faked? No, that's... I can't even describe how vile that is. And when it comes to 9/11, I've seen the arguments that the 9/11 truthers talk about, and through experiments I've done on my own, no, it wasn't faked. If you take in all the factors, then you start to understand that it actually makes a lot of sense. And the main thing you should probably take into account, we didn't need that big of an event to justify anything that was done. The big thing is not, would they have been willing to have done that? Typically, you want to, if you're going to stage an event, you want to do it for as cheap as you can. But to stage something as big as 9/11? No. It just doesn't make sense on a cost level financially. Because what if it hadn't worked? What if the planes had ended up missing the Twin Towers and landed in the ocean, or missed the Pentagon? What if the planes had gone, either dove in a way that it wouldn't have reached the building, or bypassed it altogether? There's no reason to believe that 9/11 is faked. It's just, there's so many factors that just don't make sense for it to be faked. So, yeah, like I said, it especially with that Sandy Hook piece, it's kind of disturbing. And for the remainder, Flat Earth isn't the easiest subject to jump straight to if you don't have a little understanding of the amount of deception that runs the world. Do people lie to advance their own personal agendas? Yes. That happens all the time in so many different ways. However, it still doesn't make any kind of sense for something that big. And one of the things I pointed out was that the cost of patrolling the Antarctic ice shelf would be so high that no one would justify that kind of expenditures. It just doesn't make sense. And what agenda is being advanced by the round Earth? As far as like NASA, well, unlike the entertainment industry, which they're just using that as entertainment. We know it's entertainment. So, of course, they're going to do fanciful stories that aren't true. However, NASA doesn't have that ability. And what I mean by that is they have to be actually able to produce something that has real benefits to us. So to say that NASA is faking everything to get money, no. It doesn't work. And this still doesn't explain how, it doesn't even address anything I actually brought up in the video. All it does is just go off into different directions. It ignores what I brought up about the arguments and inconsistencies with the flat Earth model. And it just shows how much you actually have to ignore in order to believe in it. So in the end, this comment doesn't address anything.